One of the biggest mysteries of childbirth is, what do contractions actually feel like? And I think, to break it down, I like to compare it to two experiences you have likely had, either both or one. The first is a Charlie horse. So you know when you are pregnant, a lot of times it happens in pregnancy where your calf muscle, the back of your leg, just all of a sudden will seize up. And it's pretty painful, right? So it's kind of like that. Let me walk you through it. So don't get scared if you're like, oh shoot, that's what it feels like. Not quite. First, let's talk about what's happening in there. The uterus is a muscle, and muscles, just like our calf or our bicep, they contract. So those muscles contract, our uterus contracts. The contraction, it's pulling up. So it's pulling open the bottom of the uterus, which is the cervix. So that interaction, that is a muscle contraction. So when we feel a Charlie horse, sometimes it starts off where we can kind of feel like it's gonna maybe cramp up, and then all of a sudden it like cramps up into a ball, right? And then we massage it oftentimes and kind of wait and have time. And usually we're pretty tense, waiting for that muscle to relax. So let's imagine that sensation, but we're gonna slow it down. Imagine your leg where you can feel it kind of coming on and it's slowly getting more intense. And then at that very hard, balled up, most contracted point, it just pauses there for a second and then it starts loosening back. So it's very predictable. If we had Charlie horses that were very predictable, I think they'd be better. They'd be easier to get through. Where you know it's coming, it goes to a peak. The peak is intense and uncomfortable and maybe close to the peak, but as soon as it peaks up, it goes right back down. So different from a Charlie horse. Charlie horse, you're kind of waiting for it to release. And it's the intense part can last for a while. But the uterus, it's going to start building that contraction up. It contracts and then it starts going back down. So a uterine contraction is very rhythmic. We go up and we go down. We have a rest, go up and go down. But what's happening is like the Charlie horse. So that's one comparison I like to use when I teach childbirth class, especially with dads, because if you're watching this and you don't have a uterus, you might not know what this second comparison is all about. And that's when I compare it to menstrual cramps. So if you've experienced menstrual cramps, show me with your hands where the cramps, you feel them. Put your hands there. You likely put your hands under your belly, like right at the crease almost between your belly and your legs. Menstrual cramps are low. They're under the belly button, right? They're not up on top of our uterus, on top of our belly. They're low. And that's where we feel contractions as well. So there's other action that goes on in your uterus that you might feel all over. You might feel Braxton hicks contractions where the whole uterus balls up. Sometimes that feels like the baby is doing a big turn in there, but usually you feel it all over. If I ask someone who is experiencing a Braxton hicks where they feel it, they usually put their hands more on the top than nice and low, like where a real contraction is. Braxton hicks classically is felt more all over. Other things that your uterus might feel that you're wondering if it's a contraction, you might feel the baby do a big movement that might feel uncomfortable, sort of in spots or all over. Sometimes people think that gas pains is labor, or they've experienced gas pains and they might think when they're in labor that they're gas. So I've not shared this story before, but with my first baby, I was having real contraction pains, and the only thing my brain could place that pain with is gas. So when you know you have gas in your stomach or in your intestines where it's kind of this like sharp, burning, shooting pain, and you don't really know when it's going to go away, that can sometimes feel in the same spot that real labor contractions feel. So when I was in labor with my first, I was feeling gas pains, what I thought were gas pains. And I remember sitting on the cold tile of the bathroom floor at like 3 a.m. waiting for the gas to go away. And then I started realizing, hold up, the gas pains are kind of coming and going. They're coming and going. And then I realized this might be labor, because labor classically comes and goes. And then it comes and goes. And gas pains usually just sort of are there or they're not there. They might come back, but they're not in a rhythmic type of fashion like real labor contractions. So real labor contractions, where your uterus is tightening up, you're generally going to feel them low, like where you feel a period cramp. They're going to be rhythmic, but the other thing that they can be is in your back, and you can experience them in your back. And so if you're feeling some rhythmic pains that come, last for a little while, and then go away, and that feels like it's in your back, or sometimes it can feel like it starts in a period cramp and then it ends in your back, that is very classic of what real labor can feel like if you're experiencing it more in your back. The other thing that's not as common, but I definitely want to mention just in case this is you, is that you might feel the contractions in the top of your thighs or down your legs. So sometimes people feel kind of the low under the belly button menstrual cramps, and that it can kind of radiate down their thighs and down their legs and maybe even in their back too. So that is possible, but that's not what you would feel with a Braxton hicks. That's not what you would feel with if the baby was, making a big turn. So that would be real labor contraction. And always, if you see that these pains that you're having are getting longer, stronger, and closer together, then you are in actual labor. Now, one of the other things that I think it can be really confusing leading up to labor or about labor is the water breaking. I feel like it's such a mystery. You hear about it so many different ways. That's why I'm going to put this video right here, my favorite resource on water breaking. Hopefully it's going to answer all of those questions for you, and you're going to have more clarity now on what contractions feel like and what water breaking is like. Hey, if this was helpful for you, will you hit the like button or share it with your partner so that they are on the same page as you are when labor starts? See you next time. Bye.